Sanctificare et glorificare was written on the heraldry of our abbot, and it was something which summed up in just a few words the whole optic. Glory given unto God gratuitously by solemn praise on behalf of the Church, and the sanctification of souls, as well, of course, as our own. For coming close to glory, one becomes aware of its power and its claims. And therefore it is a nonsense not to be a person of praise and not to be a person of love. There is an abbot, he may now be dead, but he was in the Abbey of Lef in Belgium, and he had just 3 letters on his heraldry. It was Amma, love, the command in the second person singular. And that also resumes the optic. The abbot of Alvebode had a powerful teaching about the Christus Totus. He indicated how to understand the dynamic of the vocation correctly, one had to look at the way in which the specific life handed on by St. Norbert produced the life of the total Christ. In Norbert there is a combination of the contemplative, even the eremitic at times, and the active. And that is what we find, of course, in all the elements of the Saviour's life. For he was hidden at Nazareth for a long time. He sought the desert, the night, the mountain, the early rise. But he, of course, exuded grace, warmth, and healing. And the reproduction of that life is what that abbot saw as the ideal, the Christus Totus, not, as it were, sectioning Christ into different compartments, but being ready for all that was asked. Indeed, that is the motto, ready for any good work, which gives a certain availability. We were taught, however, in Cunacroft, the same as they were taught in St. Michael's Abbey in America, the obligation of the Holy Hour before the Blessed Sacrament. And that was one thing that drew. There was the adoration going on a lot of the time in the day and in the night, and one was asked to keep guard when there was an empty space. So there was always that coming back to base. Indeed, the abbot would talk about that, back to base, back to base. And it was quietly aware of that the call quietly came not to look any further. For when on retreat in 1991, quietly before the Blessed Sacrament, being sent there because there was a gap, those words, as it were, jumped out of the host, I am here. Why look any further? And having, as it were, by chance, arrived just in time for the ordination of Brother Thomas, that was powerful, for it was just a quiet hint to accept the grace that was coming, for there would be consequences. And the sermon that the abbot pronounced at the first Mass of, by then, Father Thomas was powerful. He quoted St. Norbert at the end. O priest of God, what are you? You are nothing. You are everything. And indeed, the fact that the Premonstratensians follow the rule of St. Augustine and tend to ordain their members gives them a different dynamic within. For if in the Cistercian life one enters for prayer and praise and intimacy with the Lord, one is nevertheless not necessarily ordained, and if one isn't much used as a priest, at least outside the monastery. Whereas the ordaining of the members does mean that they can actually live on the fact that they are ordained, and that becomes the source of their livelihood. they are using what they have received, and therefore ready for all that might be asked of them. One sees the Lord blesses houses which honour him, and right now there is that phenomenon in the Premonstratensian order in America, and it's something that one needs to be aware of if one is a young man being called to the priesthood. It is a safe way. At St. Michael's Abbey in California, in Orange County, they have just completed this brand new, very beautiful monastery, all in honour of St. Michael, with mosaics of the saint, the angel in glory there in the apse area, protecting them. And they do produce great beauty upon earth with the young voices, and the Lord is blessing them, for they are very faithful and orthodox. They are right now about 42 or 43 seminarians in formation. They will all be ordained, and the community is growing all the time. They are now over 70 in number. There are more in formation than there are of those already formed. The Lord therefore wants that. He wants fidelity, and He will draw to a place where that is happening. In the monastery that I was transferred to in Italy, they were for a while doing quite well, but they've decided to leave that monastery to go back to a bigger monastery in France, given to them by the order. But the monastery actually is a gem. It was miraculously protected during the ups and downs of revolution and destruction, and even recently there was a huge forest fire nearby, and it was stopped just before it reached the abbey by divine protection. So it's a complete monastery with two complete churches, the old one and the new one, but the new one is a magnificent basilica. And there they are. One is part of something greater. One of my best friends in the priesthood was ordained fairly recently in the Premonstratensian house in London. And the house there, which they've been given in Peckham, is interesting. It's very close to the centre, but they have a huge influence over that local area, because precisely they are generous in giving of what they have received from the Lord, and their ministry is largely to that local area, and also all those who are dying in hospitals nearby. A massive ministry for a small number, but with good liturgy in the gaps between. That makes a difference, coming back to sing the divine office well, the praise of glory. It is a glorious vocation, but Eucharistic, for St. Norbert is the Eucharistic saint par excellence, always portrayed with the monstrance or the ciborium in his hand. Your order is gloriously Eucharistic and Eucharistically glorious, said above one day, praising the balance of the vertical and horizontal. Sancto Spiritu in saecula saeculorum.